Welcome everybody to a SaltyChillersEntertainment podcast. This is Hero Darkness.
Salt Logic.
Rich numbers.
Valentine.
And today we are discussing back to school and gaming and how do you manage both in life and along with other priorities. So to begin off, Salt, how do you manage to do that?
Well, when I was in school, I also had work that followed right after. Basically what happened for me was I didn't really play on the weekdays when I know I had school plus I had work until like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I really didn't play anything, and if I did, it probably was maybe like a half hour or so, providing I didn't have any work or any school work things I needed to do, which for the most part I did that before work because I had about an hour period beforehand. But for the most part, I myself didn't play anything until, a day that I didn't have to work or on the weekend. I mainly just kind of went to YouTube or Netflix and kind of just watched TV till I fell asleep. That was what I mainly did anyway.
So you found a way to balance it between your work and things along those lines, so that way you can make sure you maintain the good grades while still playing.
Yeah, because me being the person I am, I have issues sometimes, even now, getting up out of bed. So staying up till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning just to have to be up at 5, 6 o'clock or so, yeah, no, that wasn't fun. So I made sure I at least was asleep before 11. Sometimes 12, I just straight up couldn't sleep.
Okay, so you were using it as a way to maintain. Well, you gave yourself guidelines or rules on, like, I'll stay up here and I can be on here as long as X, Y, and Z is done, but I can't stay up past this time.
Oh yeah, because being at work, that drains you more than anything, and at that point you really don't feel like doing anything. So there's really no point to it. Some nights.
Alright, and Rich, how do you manage knowing that you are in classes? How do you manage class time, work time, and game time? Because college is way different than high school.
With me, I was just more make sure I was spending the quick amount of time studying for after my games. I didn't quite have a set time where I gamed. It was more of this when I felt like doing it, so that's what I did. But I always make sure I got my studies taken care of.
And so what was your, so you just made sure homework was done. Was there like any like set parts that you would do? Is like, okay, if I have X amount of homework done up, then this is a good stopping point, then I can get on and play? Or is it, I'm done for the day, let me go play? Like, how did you have it set up?
As long as I had my studies done, or no, I got my homework done before the class the next day, I was safe. That's more what it was.
So it was more of a way to see, okay, I'm good enough here, I can call it and get on. But you didn't give yourself a time limit of how long, so Salt was a little more disciplined in that regard.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Alright, now Val, how do you manage when you were in school, and now how do you manage as a parent?
It's a different perspective because I'm a parent. I know in high school and in college, I just had a lot of times to where I would allow myself to play video games. And back then, I couldn't afford any of the consoles, so I had like 2 emulators on my laptop, and the emulators were kind of not on the legal side of things. And I had thousands and thousands of games, just like retro games. Anything from Atari to Sega to Nintendo to whatever I wanted to play was on my laptop. But I made sure I had a specific moment in time and tried to balance it out with my daily life. And now, as a parent, I'm trying to pass that along. I probably let my son game a whole lot more than he should, but at the same time, that's his passion. And that's sincerely, like, every time I ask him what he wants to be when he grows up, he's like a beta gamer. He is like, I want to be a beta gamer. And
Beta
even though
gamer. Those pesky beta testers.
I feel like, yeah, like I have certain opinions about it, but like I'm never going to stand in the way of whatever he wants to do. If he told me he wants to be a soap opera celebrity, I would be like, all right, let's do it, you know, like anything. I want him to be able to go after his dreams. But yeah, he wants to be a beta gamer tester. But he also knows
tester.
Beta tester. Sorry.
He's the reason why we're in this mess.
No, no, we're not. Hey, there's nothing. Hey, listen. Being a beta tester is nothing wrong, because at this point with some of these games, you'd be surprised how entertaining it is to break something on purpose.
Right.
Let me go and break everything.
And I want to support him, and if he wants to do that, then that's great. But I also make him realize, like, people like that go to school for stuff like that, you know? They have to do more than just play video games all day. They probably have to code, and they have to, like, you know, say exactly what's wrong with a game, and it's a whole career path, so...
Oh, yeah, I remember watching a video. I will have to find the video so I can throw it in the description below for you guys. The video indicates, okay, yeah, you want to be a game tester, beta tester, okay. Just a heads up, you're going to have to literally get these random assignments where all you do is run into every single wall possible. That's what you do. Or you walk and you notice and pay attention to the textures of all the grass or on the ground, and pay attention to that stuff. And when you come across something that's glitchy, write down where you're at and then look at the coding so you can say, right here in this part in this game, this section, things are not right. So that way the company, the studio, can get that fixed. And it's not, oh yeah, let me just do it for a couple hours. No, it could be an all day or an all nighter. You are testing the game. That's what you do from sun up to sundown. And if I remember correctly what they were saying in the video, you need to have at least some programming background and some programming experience. That way you can understand what you're looking at. It's like, okay, yeah, this is what's up. Because with being the beta tester, my understanding, and I know because I follow the YouTubers where they get the early access to the alphas or to the betas, and they have to sign this, it's called what? NDA, non-disclosure, where they're not allowed to disclose anything about the game until they get permission to saying, yeah, you can disclose this information now. But if they do it prior to, if they disclose prior to that date, they can lose their reputation and will be unable to do things in the future. And back to the topic at hand of gaming and schooling, beta testing is very interesting. I give you guys some background information on the beta testing and kind of what to expect from it, if that's a path that he's after, and just for the general viewing audience to understand what we're talking about. So with also gaming and schooling, how do you manage, what are some of your tips or tricks for people so they can make it through the school year with good grades? Because
Put down the controller.
Yeah, I mean,
for some people that's easier said than done.
That is easier said than done.
Especially when you have friends that you play with, and it makes things a lot more fun and entertaining. Sometimes what you want to do, especially depending on how well your day is went, if it went crappy, sometimes you just need something uplifting, things like that to help out, and playing with your friends can seem to do that, but at the same time, you can pass by so much time and then forget to do something like school related, and then you're going to end up suffering from that. So it's more of a, yeah, it can be a back and forth self struggle there for some people.
Yes, it really can be.
Just keep your priorities straight. Just realize what's important and what's not important. And I know that it's hard to put down the controller when, especially like that's the only thing that like gives you joy in your day. But, you know, the other things are just stepping stones to make your life better and to make sure you have a happier quality of life later on. So just
Yeah.
keep seeing the big picture.
And that is true. You gotta make sure you do that. Make sure you balance your time accordingly.
Would you guys suggest a reward type thing?
Yes, rewarding yourself for after playing that long is a good idea. Because okay, I got done studying. I'm gonna play a game for a little while, and then I'll get started on my next subject. By doing that, it allows you to one take a break from the studies because I don't like studying for a very long amount of time. Not very enjoyable.
Yeah.
So by then giving yourself that reward will help you finish everything off, get everything taken care of. So then you can go back, play your games, take another break, go back studying, but then your mind isn't all tired from studying from all the time. Which
Yeah, and
is one
actually
thing.
that's oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
And that's actually what I've had one of my teachers say. They said, like, don't sit and study for hours upon hours upon hours. Study for, an hour, you can break, go, do whatever, and then come back to it. It gives your mind time to sit and just kind of rest upon that, and then go back to it, and you'll retain the information a lot better than sitting there and just studying for hours on it and not giving yourself time to rest. You become overloaded and it doesn't do you that much good in the end.
Yeah, so you kind of cut out a little bit, but what I gathered of what you were saying is you spend about max an hour, 50 minutes to an hour studying, take a break, and then go back at it again. That way you're not 4 hours, 5 hours on a single study session. You're for 50 minutes to an hour, break, 50 minutes to an hour again, break, 50 minutes to an hour again, break. So that way you can learn and know the material that you're studying.
In general, what I gather, that's what he was saying. Because when you're taking that break, your mind's still thinking about it, but you're not actively thinking about it. I know with me, I would take breaks and go to bed and wake up the next day. I was like, oh, that's what I need to do, and I can figure out a different approach on what I was studying that before. And that's why I never went better because I took the break. I decided instead of staying up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I decided to go to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock, and went from there. And with that, it helped me out.
Now, Valentine, from the perspective of a parent, does that seem like a good idea to have that study session and then have that incentive? Like, if you can get this done and be able to tell me this stuff, you can be on for X time.
I think it depends on what type of learner the person is. If that's the most beneficial, then yeah, probably go with that, especially with bigger assignments. but like I know that I did my best when I studied everything the day before the test. I don't know why. If I prepped for weeks, I failed and it was bad. I made horrible grades if I tried to prepare myself. But if I studied the night before and crammed it all into my brain and then took the test the next day, I made fairly good grades. So I usually didn't take breaks. I usually just waited like 1 to 3 days before the test or the assignment was due and then did it.
You are one of those lucky people, I would like to call in life, where you can
Last minute studiers.
last minute study
Yeah.
and you have good short-term memory, because I took a course and they're like, yeah, your short-term memory is not that good. Don't you ever
Yeah.
pull an all-nighter to take a test, because you're not going to retain all that information. Don't you ever. And then
Oh,
here it is from Val saying, well, yeah, I did it, it worked for me. You
but
lucky
it's
person.
I'm sorry. And I was really creative too. Like there was this one time that I had this assignment about the Holocaust and it was for
Oh,
this
God.
like social studies class. And I like made a train like model of the train boxcars that they used. And like everybody was like, "Oh my gosh." And he even like kept my assignment to like show people in the future what the assignment was about. I was such a teacher's pet. I was like, boom! Revel in my goodness.
In your face.
Get
In your
good.
face. A plus, man.
Now, what would you? Because now, from my personal experience, I would recommend what Rich and Salt have been saying. Create an incentive. Now, it may not be for the college students. It may not be in your best interest to reward yourself every day to go in game. Create like, okay, if I have X, Y, and Z done by this date, then I can enjoy myself on the weekend or an hour or so, so I can go and enjoy time with my friends, or I can get online for an hour or two and get some things done, or play a few matches depending on the type of game that you're playing. If it's an MMO game, you can give yourself, okay, I want to get in, find a few things, maybe run a dungeon or two, call it quits, and bounce out. You noted I said run a dungeon or two, because I'm aware that
Well,
dungeons
see, for some
can take some time, and I know the wait time, if you're running the damage per second type people, you will be waiting for some time. But if you're running as
all
a tank,
depends what you're looking for.
yep,
But no, one important thing I will say to add on with what Hero was saying is don't procrastinate. I am one of those people, I will straight up and say, do not procrastinate to the last minute. You will regret a lot of things. Procrastinating will hurt you horribly if you have a lot to do.
Unless you run on procrastination like I do.
unless you have those social classes where they're, I don't know, seem easier all of a sudden.
But yes, don't procrastinate if
Don't
you're
procrastinate.
bad at it.
Yeah, that's a you are the exception to the rule, I would say, than the rule.
Rules are meant to be broken, not in this case.
Not this case. This rule can't be broken. Now, I will also say this as well, along with the don't procrastinate. Be mindful of the classes that you're taking. If the class that you're taking is really intense and they require a lot of time, then give yourself 3 hours
Ample.
total. Out in college, a basic guideline to go by is this: for every 1 hour in class, you need to spend anywhere between 2 to 3 hours outside of class, depending on the toughness of the class. The reason is that way you can retain and go over and visit the material in the class. Thus, with the whole reward system, you have, okay, I won't be able to get on until Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, so let me make sure I'm good on homework by these days and I'm good on my class assignments. Then that way, come this time, I can give myself a few hours to do my homework so I can have that time to play that I want to this weekend. So if you're in a game that you have to coordinate with your friends to get something done, you make sure that you have your coordination, your part done, so that way when it comes time to get online with your friends, you can get online and not have to feel guilty for spending 4+ hours on something. Because there
And
are
listen
games
to
that,
your fellow classmates too when they're talking about a class. If a class is hard, you're going to hear about it, especially in college. Like, I knew that science, technology, and society was kind of a complicated class. So when I took that class, I made sure I loaded up with easy classes around it so that I could focus more on that.
So you balance yourself in a sense.
Yeah.
Instead of overloading yourself with 5, 6 different classes that all require time, you took one that took a lot of time and just kind of, filled it in with things that didn't quite require as much time
Yeah.
and suffering, so to speak, depending on what it is, as others.
as others,
Like, yeah. Like,
and
I
I
took English lit and, like, intro to psych, you know?
and I agree with Val. I'm sure Rich would agree as well. When you're taking courses, and especially when you start going into your major, balance it out so that you're not heavy focus on your major courses, and also balance out with your elective courses or the easier courses that you can have to do, so that way you can balance those two out so you can maintain your good grades and also keep progressing forward with your major at the same time.
One thing I do want to kind of throw in, that's from a parent's point of view. Val, this question's more leaning towards you.
Uh-huh.
Would there be anything that you can probably say, to possibly other parents that have kids that like to play games? Is there anything that you can say or give tips, from a kid that likes to play games and, has schoolwork? Kind of what things would you say to kind of make sure that they do get their stuff done while still being able to play?
I would say just keep an eye on how much your kid is online. And if you feel like it's too much for the child, if they're slipping in other areas or if they're having a hard time balancing everything, to step in and be the parent and be like, okay, we need to cut this down. I had to do that with Zane last year. I had to cut his use down to only weekends because he couldn't balance it all. And I think that's your responsibility as a parent. That being said, I know of several parents who are so anti-video game that their kids are my kids' age and they've never even touched a controller, you know? And so if they're interested in it, let them be interested in it. Let them be themselves. Like, if they're a gamer, let them be a gamer. There's no harm in being who you were meant to be. And if it's really who they were meant to be, they'll do it later in life too. So,
Now kind of another thing. Would you prioritize them making sure they get their work done before playing, or how would
oh
you,
yeah.
or kind of recommend that they set that then?
No, parenting 101. Make sure that their homework is done, their chores are done, dinner is eaten, and then they can play. If they want to play during the evening time after they've got all their crap done in the house, then okay. But if they're coming home and immediately like gaming, I no. No, I don't think that's okay. You can watch something, you can take a break, but you're not going to go immediately into gaming after school. You got to get all your stuff done because that's a privilege and not a right. Hey, Mom, guess what? I used that phrase if you're listening. It's amazing what you say when you're a parent.
Oh, the things you
You'd
say
be
as a
surprised how
parent.
right they are.
You find yourself quoting your
You
parents
know.
after you leave the house. You're like, oh, they were right all along.
Maybe I should have listened.
Well,
Right.
Val, you bring up some good valid points. Is that there are things in that where it's best to make sure you have that discipline and beat the iron while it's hot. Meaning, when they have an interest, be with them and help them develop that discipline, saying, okay, I can get on here and here, but not here and here because these things aren't done. X and Y, if I have X and Y done, then I can do Z, but if X and Y is not done, then I can't do Z. And so creating that discipline will then help them later on in life. And sometimes picking up a sport or picking up an instrument can help translate that discipline elsewhere as well. So don't discount the sports and what they can teach as well. And what I find interesting was talking with somebody, gaming kind of has this weird negative light given to them. And so like, in a way, yes, and in a way, no. Let's put things in perspective. Would you rather spend 3 hours being able to show what you've done for 3 hours in a video game, or in the same 3 hours said that you watched and you now on like episode 12 of season 4 of 9 of Grey's Anatomy?
I definitely wouldn't feel too proud of myself to sit and watch or binge watch a show for 3-4 hours. I definitely wouldn't be too proud of that.
Welcome
I've
to
done
your
binge
30s.
watching all the time.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like, yeah, this past week I was telling my parents that I was doing the Spire Stars raid layer in Destiny 2, and like the first group wasn't working out. Did a second group and it worked out. What do I have to show for it? Well, I have this couple sweet emblems to show and a couple cool armor pieces to show and a gun to show for it in game. Unlike if I binge watch a TV series, I can say I watched that. Okay, that's cool. I got something to show for it.
One thing that I will say about that some people don't realize, just kind of pass over, cooperation. And okay, for some games you'd be surprised how easy it is to find a solution. In my opinion, I say people that play games, and I'm not saying that this is for everybody, but some people that play games have an easier time finding answers and solutions to problems than people who don't, because their mind's constantly working. They tend to have a little bit faster reaction. So, in kind of the result, it's not always a bad thing that they play games. For some of them, that actually help with being able to, okay, I'm gonna say this, and all of you know that I can't speak English anyway, but communication and being able to work together with people can help a lot with doing this, because there are some games that require a lot of cooperation and communication that you can't do quietly or without it.
Some notable games with that cooperation and the skill sets gained from gaming is World of Warcraft. Is a very notable and easy one to go to, because you have to get together a big team of people to go and coordinate and do a high-end dungeon, or as they call it, a raid. I mean, it's not something easy. So there is some positive things that can come from gaming. And in order for you to want to go and raid, or want to go run a dungeon in some of these MMO games that some people like to play, you need to make sure that you have done your part first so you can go and do it. Last year when Destiny 2 dropped, I made sure I was done with my homework before I tried to coordinate a raid team to get together to run the first raid, Leviathan raid in Destiny 2. I made sure first and foremost I was there before I went and got the raid team together, that I was in a good spot with my homework and my studies, and I didn't have to worry about any tests coming up, so that way I can move forward and enjoy my time online. And a lot of it goes back to what Val said at the beginning. It's putting down that controller. and
Knowing
being able
when to.
it's knowing when to and making sure that you have that controller down, so that way you can do well. Because let's face it, going to college, you're gonna get some debt. Even if you go to a trade school, I'm pretty sure there's some debt you're gonna pick up. So is the 5+ hours in a game throughout a short amount of time worth it, knowing that you're losing time that you could apply studying? Probably not. But on the same note, make sure that you are good with your homework before you get on. And you can take this same concept and apply it to, oh yeah, gaming. Alright, yeah, the gaming or binge watching, whatever it is that you're in. This is our kind of tips on what to do. So if we had to put this down in short terms, what would you guys say are a few tips that we have? What would be tip number 1 on gaming in school?
Make sure you
Prioritization.
focus your homework before games.
Okay, tip 1 is prioritization. And then, would you care to expand on that?
Well, if you focus homework first, you focus your homework first, you know you're getting your studies done instead of just spending all your time on games and not knowing what you need to get done in class. I know with me, one problem I had in school was, yes, I want to make sure my homework was done, but I found myself playing get up more games than I was doing my studies. So I had to wake up earlier than what I wanted to when I could have got my studies done, game a little later, to actually game instead of having to wake up early and finish my homework.
I think you should apply this rule to like everything in your life. You want to know the key to life and success? Have your priorities straight. Like, do the responsible thing and then have fun afterwards. Like yesterday, I went and saw a movie and I went shopping and I got some stuff for myself, Bath and Body Works and Lush. I don't normally do it, but I did it yesterday. But I made sure that all my bills were paid before I went and spent that money
The
on
spoils
myself.
of life.
Yeah, do what you need to do to get life done and then have fun. And then do whatever it is you want to do. Have some self-discipline.
Make sure you have your priorities straight. As Ron Weasley would say, she's got to get her priorities straight. The words of Ron Weasley is so true at this moment, is have your priorities straight. So our big and probably our main tip is prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. You want to prioritize when you're going to study, when you're not going to study, when you're going to have food. Having the schedule out is an absolute must for survival, and we can discuss on a later date on how to line out that schedule and some tips of what's absolute must on the schedule and what are some not so absolute must on these schedules. So this has been a Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. Our tips on survival of when to game, when not to game, and it can be summed up in prioritize. And as always, guys, feel free to hit that like, comment, subscribe, share button if it makes it feel better. Awesome. And if you want to keep up with some of our stuff that we've got going on, we'll make sure we post better on our Facebook and Twitter pages. And always feel free to comment there. And if you've got other tips that you want us to talk about, let us know. Or think we got some that we missed, let us know, and we can discuss them later. So this has been a Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. This has been Hero Darkness.
Salt Logic.
Which numbers?
Valentine.
And as always, guys, stay salty.